When we think of Mediterranean food today, we picture coastal indulgence, rich, bubbling sauces, endless wine, and tables overflowing with abundance. But for the people living along the rocky coasts of Sardinia or Ikaria a century ago, the Mediterranean was an unforgiving landscape. These villages were geographically isolated, and daily life was defined by strict, unyielding scarcity. Before the invention of modern refrigeration, surviving the winter was a literal race against rot. If you couldn't keep your food from spoiling, your family wouldn't eat. So how did a population surviving on the cheapest rations of dried beans and rough grains manage to build a diet that is now celebrated worldwide for its deep, complex flavors? This legendary diet grew from a survival strategy that utilized two things they had in surplus: sea salt and a massive supply of a tiny silver fish. Anchovies swim in massive, dense schools. Coastal fishermen could haul thousands of them onto the docks in a single afternoon, but a large catch rots quickly in the sun. To save it, coastal communities carved out massive evaporation ponds, baking ocean water under the heat to harvest salt by the ton. This marriage of fish and salt dates back to classical Greece and Rome. We still find the deep stone vats along the Mediterranean coast, where thousands of pounds of fish were fermented to create gyros, a pungent liquid sauce that seasoned the ancient world. When you bury fresh anchovies in pure sea salt, the sodium aggressively draws out the moisture. The flesh slowly cures, turning a deep, translucent amber. You stop the biological process of decay in its tracks. You take a perishable afternoon catch and lock it in stasis. That cured fish becomes a durable asset, feeding a village deep into February. By the Middle Ages in Sardinia, massive wooden barrels of salted anchovies were stacked floor to ceiling in cold cellars, right next to the olive oil and wine. They were a literal insurance policy against starvation. On the Greek island of Ikaria, the seasons dictated the menu. Summer feasts featured fresh anchovies baked whole with garden herbs, but the bulk of the catch was meticulously pressed into ceramic jars, layered with heavy salt, and buried in the pantry for winter storage. This graphic shows the nutritional payload of a single anchovy fillet. Relative to its tiny total mass, it is remarkably dense in essential proteins and omega fats. But you didn't eat them whole, you deployed them strategically. A single cured fillet would be dissolved into a massive, bubbling pot of cheap beans and root vegetables, spreading those concentrated fats throughout the entire meal. Salt was the currency of time. It allowed isolated communities to stretch their meager, seasonal resources across the entire calendar, laying the precise dietary foundation for the long-lived blue zone populations we study today. As maritime trade expanded through the 1500s, commercial sailing ships began carrying heavy barrels of this salted survival food out of the Mediterranean and up into the northern ports of Europe. Chefs in France and Spain began pounding the cured fillets with garlic. This trade directly birthed regional staples, like the hot, rich bagna cauda of northern Italy. Preserved anchovies moved from isolated stone cellars to bustling urban delicatessens, becoming a staple of everyday commerce. A method invented simply to keep coastal villagers alive through the cold quietly became the defining, savory background note of modern Western cooking. If you want to cook like you live in a blue zone today, the central lesson of the anchovy is restraint. Take just one single salt-cured fillet. Drop it into a pan of warm olive oil, apply gentle heat, and stir until it entirely vanishes. Toss your simple grains, pasta, or roasted vegetables into that savory oil. And make sure to taste the dish before you reach for the salt shaker. The anchovy already brought the sea with it. Take a look in your own pantry. What other everyday ingredients are sitting on your shelf right now, hiding thousands of years of human survival in a jar? Because if you look closely at every long-lived culture on Earth, you find the exact same pattern. The deepest, most enduring flavors are always born out of the necessity of thrift.